Hang up. Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. Intel has told us there are at least 7.
Okay, I already see one. Give me. Okay.
They're the same picture.
Kaiser here, and today I'm back with a new action figure comparison video. And it's definitely been a while since I've done one of these, but I did put up a small poll like a few weeks ago asking people which character they wanted me to do an action figure comparison video on, and quite a few asked for Yusuke Urameshi, the spirit detective from Yu Yu Hakusho. And when it comes to Yusuke figures that have come out over the years, to most people, only 2 really seem to stand out as some of the definitive Yusuke figures. That being the ones made by One Shot Toys and Dawson Model. But I'm pretty sure a lot of you have actually forgotten another Yusuke figure that was actually supposed to come out around the same time that the One Shot Toys was supposed to come out. And that's the Yusuke Urameshi made by Tatsumaki Studios, which seems to be well known for making more detailed statues than action figures. In fact, it seems like the Yusuke Urameshi that they put out was their only action figure, or at least one of their first. So I thought it would be fun to include that figure, because even though I'm not sure if it ever actually came out, I still wanted to compare it with the One Shot Toys and the Dawson Model to kind of show off the differences between all 3 of them. And I honestly just didn't want him to be left out, since I think it's fun to kind of look back on this figure and, you know, kind of see some of the differences with how they went about making him. So with that, let's get into it. Up we have sculpting and painting, and when it comes to all 3 of these figures, all of them go for the same approach of using his most iconic design, that being the green school uniform at the start of the series. And for Dawson Model and One Shot Toys, both of them are kind of the same figure. Both of them use a almost SH Figure Arts Bodycoon X body and fabric clothing, which I say is a pretty good approach for Yusuke. And the only real difference is in the faces, and I say that because both of them kind of take a different approach of how he looks. For example, One Shot Toys is more in line with how people usually see Yusuke, but when it comes to the Dawson Model, it kind of reminds me of the illustrations that you would see in like the first ending, and I'll put some pictures up so you know what I mean. It just kind of looks more like that illustration of Yusuke. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing, because both of them do look pretty good, and I think I might even like the Dawson Model look a bit more. It just kind of, it looks a bit cooler in my opinion, but the One Shot Toys definitely isn't bad. Another thing that I could give Dawson Model is that I do like the more vibrant green that the school uniform has, while the One Shot Toys is kind of a more dull green. Again, it's not bad, but I do kind of prefer the more vibrant green of the Dawson Model. So yeah, there's not really too many differences between these 2 figures, because both of them kind of do the same thing. But when it comes to the Tatsumaki Studios version of Yusuke, in my opinion, it kind of has more problems. For example, the sculpting, while it's not bad, I think the school uniform does look a bit off. Like, the shirt seems to be too tight, and I'm not sure if that's just me, but it kind of looks like the shirt is riding up on his stomach. And I think they did that in order to get a bit more posability, but it does kind of look off. And then there's the face. It kind of looks like they try to go for a more realistic look for Yusuke, but it kind of ends up looking a bit off. Like, the eyes look kind of like doll eyes, and not in a good way. It just kind of looks creepy. And I hate to say that, because at first I thought that this would look good, but looking at it fully painted and everything, it doesn't look that great. And I I didn't want to say that, but here we are. So yeah, when it comes to sculpting and painting, I would say Dawson Model is in first, One Shot Studios second, and Tatsumaki Studios at third. Next up we have Articulation, and once again Dawson Model and One Shot Toys have very similar articulation. Because both of them are using a blank body with fabric on top, they pretty much have the same, posability with the same amount of limitations. And I did look to see if there were any slight differences I could talk about, and I was able to find a few, mostly coming from the legs. Now, while both of them can kick outward pretty well, if you wanted to get Yusuke and kind of like a side kick, kind of like a kung fu kick, then the One Shot Toys will be a lot better at doing that, because the legs can actually spread a bit more than the Dawson Model. And I think that might be because the fabric on the One Shot Toys is a lot looser, kind of like a little baggier than Dawson Model, so you are able to get a bit more articulation out of it. Or it could be just how the pants are stitched, since in terms of making 1/12 scale clothing, when it comes to pants, those could usually be the most restricted part, because you want it to look good, but a figure just doesn't have the same, the pants won't have the same flexibility as a human. So it could also be that, but I still think for the most part the articulation is borderline the same. There aren't really that many differences aside from the legs, and even that's kind of a small difference. But when it comes to Tatsumaki Studios, since it's made purely out of plastic, I was kind of thinking that the articulation wouldn't be as good, but from the pictures I've seen, it does seem like you are able to get him in a good amount of poses. And the only two limitations that I could see are the diaphragm and the legs. For the diaphragm, it's mostly because of how it looks. It doesn't really look like you would get enough clearance to, crunch him forward or back. So I could be wrong, but it does seem like that would be a bit of a limitation. And that also goes for the legs, since it does seem like you are able to get him, kicking forward and back and even crossing his legs. I do wish that there was a picture showing how well he can kick out to the side, since again, it does seem kind of limited, although I can't be 100% sure. So in terms of rankings, I would say for the most part, Dawson Model and One Shot Toys are tied, simply because there aren't really that many differences in terms of articulation, so they can both pretty much do the same thing, while Tatsumaki Studios is in second. Next up we have accessories, and
No. It's the same thing. No, this hits different.
okay, all joking aside, there are a few differences between Dawson Model and One Shot Toys, but they essentially come with the same stuff. They both come with a different assortment of hands, they both come with different expressions, both come with the little penguin, a spirit gun accessory, and a book bag. The differences I can find is that Dawson Model has a few more expressions, but as far as I know, they're just the neutral faceplate looking off to the left and the right. So it's not a huge difference, but it's there. And it also seems that the spirit gun accessory is different for both. Dawson Model seems to have more of a charging up type of spirit gun effect, while One Shot Toys has one that's more being fired. I guess it depends on which one you want or which one fits better. Again, I wouldn't say either is bad, but I would probably give it up to Dawson Model for having just a bit more accessories, even if I do prefer a few of the accessories from One Shot Toys. But once again, it's
same thing, bitch, just different shapes.
They technically have the same amount of accessories. And for Tatsumaki Studios, I did my best to look at every picture I could find and see what accessories he came with. And it seems like he kind of comes with a good amount. It seems that he comes with fist, open palm hands, a spirit gun hand, or finger I should say. He comes with a neutral face, a shouting face, and a smiling face, and he also comes with a little penguin. And that's all I can really find. It doesn't seem like he comes with a book bag or a, a spirit gun effect. So while it's not bad, I would definitely say that Dawson Model and One Shot Toys has a bit more compared to him. And that goes into the rankings where, once again, I can't choose, so I kind of have to put One Shot Toys and Dawson Model in a tie, while Tatsumaki Studios is at second place. We have scale and comparison, and this is the probably only category that doesn't have Dawson Model and One Shot Toys being almost identical. Because in this case, when you put the figures next to each other, Dawson Model is actually taller than One Shot Toys, and that's going to kind of affect the scaling if you ever wanted to pair them up with other shonen characters, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. I actually looked up the height of Yusuke in order to find out like how tall he really is, and in some cases some people say he's around 5'4", 5'5", and others will say that he's around 5'8". I'm not entirely sure which one is correct, but I'm probably going to be going with the 5'4", 5'5" scaling for this. Now, when it comes to One Shot Toys, it's probably closer in scale with other Shonen Jump heroes, as you can see here. He's still pretty tall, but in some cases it doesn't look too bad. It does say 1/12 scale, but he's definitely a lot taller than like Goku, Naruto, characters like that. So he does kind of look weird, but it isn't too bad compared to Dawson Model, which, as you can see, is definitely a lot taller. And that's kind of the one thing I've kind of like disliked about Dawson Model. It's just how weird their scaling can be. Because like with characters like the Dawson Model Geno, Saitama, and Garo, they're more in line with your anime figures being more in line with 1/12 scale. Then you have Ichigo, who is 1/10, so he's automatically taller. And like Kenshin and Yusuke here are kind of in the middle, where they're not as tall as Ichigo, but they're still taller than those One Punch figures. So it's kind of all over the place, and I do wish they would stick to a more consistent scale. If there's a reason, I would like to know, but that's just me. So I would probably go with One Shot Toys in terms of scaling and comparison, because I'd say it just fits in better with how Yusuke looks, and it will fit in a lot better with your other anime heroes. And when it comes to Tatsumaki Studios, unfortunately, I wasn't able to find like any pictures of him next to other figures. Next to other figures. It does say he's 1/12 scale, but I have not seen anybody like pair him up with anybody else, so it's hard to say really how tall he is compared to other characters. So that's kind of a shame. So yeah, in terms of rankings, I'd probably give it to One Shot Toys. Then second is Dawson Model, and third is Tatsumaki Studios, unfortunately, and that's only because I don't know exactly how good the scaling is. We move on to the conclusion, and I have to say this was a pretty fun video to work on. For the longest time, it seemed like that we weren't really going to get any Yu Yu Hakusho action figures in the same way that SH Figuarts has worked on so many different Shonen Jump animes, or at least the big three as we know them. And for a while, people were making their own Yusuke and Hiei figures simply because they wanted these characters in action figure form. And once those action figures were finally released, or at least shown off, everybody was excited since it finally seemed like someone was giving appreciation to Yu Yu Hakusho in action figure form. And I know that I joked a lot about the Dawson Model and One Shot Toys being the same figure, and while I do stand by that, I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. I just mean it as a joke, because it's clear to see that each company put a lot of effort into making their own version of Yusuke, and if I haven't already stated enough, both of them work really well as Yusuke action figures. And it's clear to see that they aren't stopping with just Yusuke. They have already shown off characters like Kuwabara, Hiei, and Kurama. So it's clear that both One-Shot Toys and Dasu Model are not stopping until they pretty much complete the whole squad, which I'm very happy to see. And as for Tatsumaki Studios, while I still don't know exactly if anybody pre-ordered or have gotten their Tatsumaki Studio Yusuke, I still think it's pretty cool that another company decided to make their own Yusuke figure, since it's simply shown that, you know, companies are giving Yu Yu Hakusho a chance with making action figures, which is really cool since it's just a good series, and it's clear to see why so many people love it. So to get action figures to pair off with characters like Goku, Naruto, or even just weird crossovers like let's say Demon Slayer or He-Man, just stuff like that, it's really cool to see for a great series. And once again, I just have to state how happy I am to see Yu Yu Hakusho get love in action figure form. And I hope you guys enjoyed those figures as well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is probably one of my shorter action figure comparison videos, but hopefully that isn't something that bothers you. I don't see why. The videos usually tend to be very long, so having a shorter one will probably be a lot better, but who knows? I guess we'll see. Thank you guys for watching. I'll be sure to make some more action figure comparison videos soon. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time.